Well, I suppose the mix of staff that we have here at TSSG, we bring in a full life cycle of basic research, applied research, and also commercial development. So there's, I suppose, the funding pipelines as well really support innovation from concept of idea right through to technology development.
Yeah, TSG also has, it encourages a lot of students to come on and study ICT skills, and really bring those skills into industry then in the region, and that's where you really see the impact as well.
The Internet of Things is really bringing in the concept of the next connected devices to the internet. So we're basically saying in the next by 2020 there'll be 50 billion devices connected to the internet. And what's the repercussions and the types of platforms that need to be in place to support these services and the services on the top of the devices. So I suppose within TSSG I'm heading up a new initiative defining the research challenges, looking at different partners that we can work with. And part of this, we've signed a memorandum of understanding with Tyndall down in Cork, where they can bring their sensor-based experiences together with our communication software-based experiences.
That's right, yeah. We're working on a project in collaboration with Waterford County Council called the Safe Cycling Project. And the idea of this project is to improve the safety of roundabout junctions, but by using ICT, in particular using sensors and software to detect cyclists as they approach the roundabout. And basically messages would be relayed to signposts on the roundabout, so that motorists will be more aware of the cyclists as they approach. And it's a very innovative project because it's trying to build it at a very low cost for local authorities to be able to deploy it across cities and towns across Ireland.
There's no shortage of physical devices that can be created. One of the issues that we would see is the quality of the interface and the interoperability of that data, and the dashboard that the farmer is actually presented with. Is it one dashboard or is it a few dashboards? So while there's a plethora of devices, and some of them already exist, and some of them are in the pipeline, the big challenge is getting all of those devices to do what the farmer needs them to do in a way that will actually help the farmer make decisions efficiently and quickly. Currently, there are sensors and they're great for automatic calf feeders. The interface is something from 1976. So there's a huge amount of work that actually has to be done in marrying the information from the data to all other devices that are on the farm, and then presenting the whole lot back into a simple dashboard that can actually effectively help the farmer manage what they're doing. Horizon 2020 calls next year about food security is looking at genetics, and it relates as well to our Smart Appy project, and it is breeding for animal welfare, but also breeding suitable to your environment, so that you can care for your animals and can carry enough animals that you're not going to damage the environment, but yet you are actually going to produce the same amount of food. An example in Ireland would be the British Frisian herd, is a herd that was bred for our conditions, for our environment. They produce well on grass, and they're suited to us. So Ireland can focus on the breeds that it uses, maximising the traits for their welfare, reducing on the need for medicines, perhaps focusing on disease control, and just quality, just continuously striving on the quality side of things, and that alone will secure the future of Irish agriculture.
Fragged, in essence, is a centralised platform that hooks in multiple other platforms in gaming, in the entire gaming sector and sphere. So we have everything from console-based stuff like Xbox. In the future now we're bringing in PlayStation in that network too. And we have on the PC-based stuff, we have Steam, so it's a massive part as well. Closely coupled with stuff like that is external resources, so stuff like Twitch today is a massive thing, and VODs from YouTube. It's a social network that everyone, no matter what platform you play on, or what type of gamer you are, is that everyone meets in a centralized point and can create a portfolio almost of themselves in a unique fashion that doesn't matter where your roots are based. And it's a matter of effectively connecting everyone across the globe. My history in gaming is it speaks for itself. Like, I was a hardcore gamer and professional almost at a point too. So we had a lot of testing from the actual professional players themselves. So big named brands like Dignitas and all these major teams, Team UK, Team Ireland, and a Swedish team I used to play with myself, all tested this on a first-hand basis. And from the initial start, before we even had graphics and everything in it, we wanted direct feedback on the structure, the layout, how it felt. Because the big thing about gaming is that it's so immersive, and you're spending so much dedicated time in it in that area. It needs to feel right. It can look as fancy as it wants, but if it doesn't feel right, it's not the same. So that was a key component into actually constructing the initial parts from the start. So the feedback so far has been pretty awesome. So.
Well, we do a lot of work with insurance companies, particularly in the UK market. So we work with the likes of Direct Line Insurance, Admiral Insurance. And the way that most of them use telematics at the moment is very much like a stick to beat the consumer with. It's if you put this in your car and we can watch everything that you do, then we will give you a discount on your policy. But there's no real end benefit to the consumer. So that's the traditional model that's growing at the moment. What we're looking to do is to actually use the information in the vehicle, make it the consumer is actually in control of their own data. So they decide what information they want to share with the insurance company. The insurance company, on the basis of getting that information, will give them a discount. But by the fact that we're actually capturing that data for them, we'll also be able to feed that data into other areas so they can get other benefits around the vehicle, so they'll be able to reduce down their overall operating costs. It'll give them direct feedback in terms of how they can improve their drive and how they can improve their fuel efficiency, how they can reduce down costs. There'll be special offers. We'll partner ourselves with a number of different partners in, say, forecourts, where they'll get discounts on fuel, discounts on tyres, all of those kind of things.
So societies came out of the FP7 programme, the 7 Framework Programme in the European Commission. It was funded for €15 million in a competitive bid that we put together. So I was the coordinator. I was responsible for bringing together 15 different partners from around Europe, writing the competitive proposal. It turns out it was competing against, I think, 1,200 other proposals for the same tranche of funding. And it came around third, which is an achievement in itself, because actually these proposals take between 3 and 5 months to actually write and to get funded. So it got funded. It was actually a follow-on to a project we did previously called Persist, and Persist was about personal smart spaces. So essentially the theory behind it was, what happens if a user walks into a room with his mobile devices or his digital photo frame, and how do you get all these things to connect together in what we call your personal smart space. So during the course of that project, we figured out, well, you know, it's fine to get a personal smart space to connect with a smart house or a smart room or a smart car, but what happens if 2 personal smart spaces come together to form a community of people? And then we thought, we must apply for funding for that project idea as well, and that became societies. So the basic premise behind societies is we've created quite a large scale platform that allows you to create dynamic communities of people and resources and services on the fly. So for example, you could walk into this room, there could be 10 other people in the room would recognize you, connect all our devices together and form a dynamic social community of trusted connections between those people, and then we can start offering different types of mobile services on top of that. We had the European Commission's Disaster Management Agency, the AMC, involved, and so basically those guys meet maybe 3 times a year in Cyprus, and they simulate a disaster situation like an earthquake or a flood or whatever. So it is bring in all the international search and rescue operations and try and coordinate those together in a training exercise. So they allowed us to deploy the technology there to actually bring those people together, form trusted communities, so you could, you know, share the data. Maybe the first people arriving on a disaster are going to start tweeting and taking photos if they're not running away. But then as, you know, the local police forces come in, they can get plugged into this trusted network dynamically and get all the instant information. And then as international search and rescue organisations come, they can also get plugged into this. We actually extended it out in societies to what we call the armchair community. So you could be a local from Greece, but you're living in Dublin, sitting in your armchair. You can get plugged into this trusted community as well, for example, through your Xbox. You could be fed footage of the disaster as it's happening, and you can actually help with the rescue efforts, even just translating road signs or identifying things on maps and things like that. It even went as far as enabling us to fly gyrocopters over the scene in Cyprus from your Xbox, for example. The key thing with societies is it created this large platform that enables those types of services to be created.
Started about 2.5 years ago. We started a company in January of 2012. Richard, Roger and I started a company, so I'd been working in a startup on campus for a while. Richard had previously been, he was originally at FeedHenry very early days, and then he was the chief architect at TSSG, and we decided to start up Nearform. Started bootstrapping, very, very interested in this Node.js as a technology, which is now the fastest growing web technology in history. Started in 2012, the two of us without any funding, and we've grown to about 30 people in 2 years. We're now about 80% of our revenue is coming from the US, primarily from consulting, training, and we're building product around an application server for Node. So yeah, it's all kind of happening in Waterford. We're 2 years in. We haven't taken any funding whatsoever. We've grown multi-million euro business, 30 people. By this time next year, we're going to be 60 plus people. We're going to have a Series A under our belts. The market that we're in is absolutely exploding, and we're one of 2 or 3 companies in the world that have the kind of pedigree and experience in Node. Funnily, actually, we're the only company outside the US that has the experience to really cut it at the top level.